So today I want to talk about social process theories and the different three process theories and how they align with gang involvement, and also strain theory and general strain theory and the differences and how they align. And um, yeah, so first with social process theories, there's three different ones. There's the learning theory, labeling theory, and then the social control theory, and they all tie into gang involvement, and they all have a lot to do with it. And there's a lot of different things that tie in. So first, with the learning theory, um, this theory suggests that people learn um, crimes and violence from people around them. So this could be, they grew up in a household where their parents are fighting a lot and there's a lot of violence there. They think it's acceptable to solve things with violence, or they grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of gang involvement. So they see these gangs and they see them, just getting whatever they want with violence, and then they think that's, acceptable. So, let's say, okay, they want a new car, so I'm just gonna go steal this car, and that's gonna be my car now. And they see it as ways to gain their respect and gain money and power, and yeah. So then there's the labeling theory, and this suggests when people are labeled as criminals or violent or whatever it may be, and then they just start living up to that. So you know it's the same thing with school. If someone's labeled as a super smart person, or a really good academic student, they're going to try to live up to that as much as they can. And it's the same thing with this. If they're labeled as a thief, they might go and try to just, okay, well, everyone already thinks I'm a thief, so I'm just going to go steal a bunch of things, and it's not going to change the way people think about me anyways. And the more they hear that they're getting labeled as that, they just start to think that they actually are, and then they live up to that a lot more. And then there's also the social control theory, and this is why people actually don't commit crimes, which is a little different. And it pretty much says that people won't commit a crime because they have, ties to family, school, a job, a relationship, or something to look forward to in life later down the road. And these all are things where people don't commit crimes, or they're scared of jail or the fines or whatever it might be. They are not going to do that because they don't want the punishment, or they don't want to ruin their relationship, or whatever it might be. And over time, as they get older, and these theories break down, or that relationship goes away, or they lose their job or whatever, they don't have that tie anymore to it, and there's no reason for them not to commit the crime. So they might be more likely to do it later down the road. So, if someone's in a long-term relationship and they don't want to go to jail because they have a wife and they have kids and all that kind of stuff, and then they break up, they get a divorce, he doesn't have his kid anymore, he doesn't have a wife, he's like, okay, there's no reason for me not to commit this crime. Like, I'm not hurting anyone, I'm not, losing anyone, so he thinks there's a reason, there's no reason not to do it. So those all three tie into gang violence and violence in general. So now let's talk about how strain theory and general strain theory, and the changes with them, the differences, and how they tie in together. So strain theory pretty much says that people can't achieve their goals through acceptable means. They just turn to violence. So if they really want money and they can't get money, well, they're gonna find a way to get money. Instead of, they can't get a job to get the money, they're gonna go rob a store or rob a bank or get that money in a quick, easy way. Or they don't have a car, so they don't have enough money to pay for the car, so they're gonna go steal a car, or they're gonna break into a car, or whatever it might be. They might do something like that, and it's because of frustration. They can't achieve their goal, and they get very frustrated with that, so they just turn to violence to achieve those goals. And general strength theory is very similar, but also different at the same time, because it talks about more than just being frustrated or just one type of frustration. And there's 3 different types, and it's when there's positively valued goals, positively valued, they have something positive going on in their life, or they have something they get exposed to something negative going on in their life. So first, there's failure to achieve something positive. So, they get kicked out of school. So, okay, I'm going to go do this because I don't have school anymore. I got kicked out of school. Or they lost their job. So they're going to do this because they get kicked out of their job. The next is a removal of something positive. So this could be like losing a loved one, losing a relationship, losing their kids, losing whatever it might be. They're losing something that they once had a deep connection to, or a love to, or they just, they don't have that anymore. The last thing is exposure to something negative. So this could be growing up in a heavy gang involvement neighborhood, or getting bullied in school, or having, a father figure that was in and out of their life, or like a father that didn't do the right things. And these all build into each other, and I'll explain why, people feel like they have to turn to violence or turn to do something that they wouldn't normally do, which like crime or drug use or alcohol addiction, or, a gang, or, something like that. And one of the biggest critiques with the strength theory was that it only focuses on like economic status, like money, like they can't reach a financial goal or like a social status or anything like that. And the general strength theory dives into it a little bit deeper and just talks about, just everything. It talks to them more about just about money or status or relationships, or, it goes into a little bit of everything. So yeah, to sum it up, pretty much, both of those theories obviously tie into violence and show different reasons why it's committed. And not necessarily violence, but just like things they wouldn't normally do in general, like drug use and all those kinds of things. They all just tie in close together. And same thing before with the social process theories. You can see how they all tie in very closely together. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah.